was this fantastic Western spoof. It was a double A certificate film. It had to be 14. I saw it underage. It was the first double A certificate film I ever managed to get into. I literally put newspaper rolled up in the heels of my shoes to make me look taller so I could get into it. So I was so thrilled to be in the cinema because I was too young, and I thought Blazing Saddles was one of the funniest films I'd ever seen. Back to back in the same year, you get from Mel Brooks that, and then Young Frankenstein, which is this amazing horror spoof. And of course, I've always loved horror movies. I really, really loved spoofs in my earlier years.
Well, I share your conviction that Mel Brooks was and is a genius.
Yes.
However, while I will be vigorously defending Scary Movie later, when people talk about spoofs more generally, I kind of hate them. I hate the idea.
Because?
I think there's something inherently lazy and a bit nasty about taking the mick out of someone else's creative endeavour and passing that off as your own.
Can we be clear and define what a spoof is?
Well, yeah, that is important, because the thing about a spoof, and it often gets conflated with other terms, a true spoof...
In a quarter of a mile, use the left lane to take the A1306 exit towards Dagenham, Hornchurch.
Whereas something which replicates elements of another work of art to honour it or celebrate it is properly called a pastiche. And then you've got something like a satire which does ridicule, but with a wider comment about society.
Use the left lane to take the A1306 exit.
Being revealed by satire.
Firstly, I'm finding this an education. Secondly, I think for me, it's the difference between laughing with and laughing at something.
In 300 yards, use the middle lane to turn slightly left onto Ripple Road, A1306.
What makes
use the middle lane to turn slightly left onto Ripple Road, A1306, then use the middle lane to turn right to stay on Ripple Road.
And beloved spoofs, including Airplane, The Naked Gun, and Scary Movie. But first, did spoofs start with Mel Brooks, or has the movie business always been comfortable with taking the mick out of itself? I asked author, critic, and screenshot regular Anne Bilson to talk me through a select
destination
on a specific genre, which they then take the mickey out of. The most obvious one is horror, because in the 30s, Universal made Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Wolf.
Posted this in the afternoon. I said to wait for the evening when everyone's online.
It's not like it disappears, though. They could still look at it in the evening.
But really, it does disappear. If you time it wrong, it kind of dies. The algorithm knows no one is seeing it, and it loses momentum. Also...
What?
The start. It's all wrong.
It's that, and that's why we need to have a change of direction.
In the past hour, a Labour MP announces he'll give up his seat to help the Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham, have a chance to stand in a party leadership campaign.
And I really believe that Andy Burnham coming home, that is the path to turning this around.
Well, as we heard in the last half an hour, Labour's National Executive Committee has given permission to Greater Manchester's Mayor, Andy Burnham, to stand in the Makerfield by-election. The decision comes after he was blocked from standing in the Gorton and Denton by-election earlier this year, which was won, as I'm sure you remember, by the Green Party. So, what are people in Makerfield making of what's happening, and what are the issues they face which will decide their vote? I spoke to three locals: Izzy Schaefer, an ordained reverend, to Andrew Jukes, a telecoms technician who also volunteers at sports clubs in the constituency, and also to Mum Kimberly Fairhurst, who works in a sandwich bar. And I began by asking Kimberly how it feels to have all eyes on Makerfield.
Well, it's very strange. Not much really goes on in Ashton like this. It's very, out of the ordinary for us locals in the area.
Is it something it's taking a bit of getting used to?
It is strange to see Ashton and Makerfield actually on the television. I can't recall it ever being on the television before. So it seems strange that all eyes are on Ashton and Makerfield.
Andrew, does that feel good?
I think this is just a start, if I'm being honest. I think it's going to ramp up over the next few weeks, and I think there'll be even more scrutiny. And just to clarify, the Makerfield constituency is a much wider area than just Ashton and Makerfield. It stretches out towards the boundaries of Leigh and goes over towards Orrell, so it is a big area.
It does indeed, you're absolutely right. Of course, you know it better than me. What are the issues in your area that you want to see addressed?
Yeah, the most one is the antisocial behaviour. It's absolutely ridiculous in our area at the moment. Nothing in the town for antisocial behaviour is happening at all. Not just that, obviously the public transport is a massive issue. It's constantly roadwork after roadwork every couple of weeks. That's just constantly backed up with traffic. Small businesses it's massively affecting as well. Local shops in the area in Ashton, You see a lot of them now are all shut and being taken over by vape shops, kebab shops, barber shops, which we've got an absolute massive amount of them already in the town, which we don't need. There's not enough, there's just the odd charity shop. There's just nothing in the town that's appealing to people to come and see as well.
Yeah, I can understand Kimberly saying about roadworks. Traffic is a problem all the time. It's dreadful, the traffic for such a small area.
Yeah, it is a problem, the roadworks in particular, not just the Ashton one, it's been all over the borough. My focus would be on social services. I think the wealth inequality has led to, over the last 15 years, austerity and pulling of lots of social services that would help to alleviate some of those antisocial behaviours. I think a lot of lack of money into schooling. My eldest son is a teacher. I know what's gone on in schools over the last 10-15 years and the lack of money going into it, and it all feeds into a situation where the young just feel disenfranchised, I think.
And Andrew, I know you voted Labour last time. They've been in power at national level for a couple of years now. Politicians back then and now were talking about change. What does change mean in your eyes?
I can't say I've been completely enamoured with Keir Starmer. I think he was given a big mandate 2 years ago. And if I'm honest, I don't think he's been loud and proud and changed enough. However, if you do look at the stuff that is going on behind the scenes, the reduction in waiting lists, the reduction in immigration, I think quietly they have gone about the business. But I just feel as though we should be doing a bit more. And I don't necessarily believe it should have got to this point where Andy Burnham seems to be being put forward for the Makerfield post. The situation's led to this point, and it is what it is. And I do believe that Andy Burnham is a guy who can shout a bit louder and prouder, and he's worked with Manchester and what he's done with Manchester, I think it will lead him in good stead from both a community point of view, and if anything happens further on and he does get elected into the cabinet or whatever, I think he can push for local concerns to be dealt with at that senior level, that national level.
And Kimberly, I believe you used to vote Conservative. In the local elections, you voted for Reform UK for the first time. I'm taking that to mean that you want change, but you're not believing when politicians and that national government says they're bringing change.
Yeah, well, I want obviously cost of living crisis going down, because that is just unbelievably too high. Labour did say they'd decrease our bills, yet they've obviously not. They've jumped up even more higher than what they was last year. Also keeping us safe, people that shouldn't be here on boats that are coming in. Starmer still hasn't done anything about stopping the boats. The one in, one out isn't working at all, because there's still loads of them coming in. Just walking through our own communities, we just don't feel safe at all. I do have a friend that's been attacked by illegal immigrants, and it's just, Reform to me are more relatable to me as a family, and in my family.
So do you think you will vote Reform in this by-election?
Yes, I will. I feel like Andy Burnham is using this now to gain power, really, in number 10. I think it's a joke, to be all honest. I really don't think Josh Simmons should have come down at all. I really don't.
And Izzy, I think you're a fan of Andy Burnham. Will you vote for him in this by-election?
Yes, I think I would. I think he is a very approachable person. I think he sets about issues and gets things done. As Mayor of Manchester, he seems to be very popular. If he can do for the country what he's doing for Manchester, I think we'd all be better off.
But Izzy, do you think, clearly if you elect Andy Burnham, it's looking as if what you're actually doing is electing, well, people are saying you're electing the next Prime Minister if he gets in. Do you have any concerns that Makerfield might get left behind?
Well, there is that problem, but I don't think that would happen. At the moment, our Member of Parliament doesn't seem to be doing very much, so I can't see what negative things Andy Burnham can do.
What's interesting about this by-election, and part of the reason, obviously, why everyone's so interested is this your seat, your constituency was once a very safe Labour seat, but at the last election, Reform UK came second. The recent local elections, they won all 11 wards and around half the vote. Andrew, why do you think that was? Do you see that as a protest vote, or do you think that will happen again at the by-election?
I think there's a risk or a danger of it happening if you come from a Labour point of view. My personal opinion is I think there's a lot of rhetoric. I mean, you know, just on this call, people are talking about certain things or whatever. I think there's a lot of rhetoric from the right, and they know why they're doing what they're doing, but the reality of the situation, and with regards to cost of living and all those other things, I think we just need to sort wealth inequality. And I think the very fact that over the last 15 years, 40% of all wealth has been given to the top 1%, and the bottom 50% has only got 1% of it, is a big, big issue. And if I'm honest, I think Keir Starmer could and should have done a lot more than what he has, but I do not believe in any way that reform policies or the people on the right will fix that.
Kimberly, what do you think about what's being said, that all the focus is on Makerfield because if it elects Andy Burnham, you might be represented by the person who becomes Prime Minister?
I understand the left want to sort this country out, but they've been trying to sort this country out for 30 to 40 years.
And Izzy, that point that, you know, if you elect Andy Burnham by the person who becomes Prime Minister, does that give an extra, I don't know, sense of pride to the constituency?
No, I don't think so. I think people should get there on merit. And I think this sort of everybody voting for reform is just frustration with the ordinary parties that we've had for so long. Reforms come along and made a lot of noise, and I think people are responding to that because they don't know what else to respond to.
Andrew?
I mean, ultimately, we should be voting based on who we think is the right person to lead the constituency. But ultimately, if there is a challenge, and if Andy Burnham became successful and went on, I do think it's a big plus for our town, our constituency. So yeah, I think it would be a positive thing.
Well, thank you to Andrew, Kimberly and Izzy for sharing their insights from Makerfield with us here at PM. Now, it is 5:45 and Chris is here with some of the other headlines today.
A former school teacher in Lancashire has been jailed for 16 years for taking more than 1 million upskirting pictures of students using spy pens. Matthew Gilks, who's 47, was caught photographing children under cubicles at a leisure centre in Chorley 2 years ago. Africa's top health agency has declared an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, saying 65 people are believed to have died and more than 200 are infected. Washington is said to be looking at indicting Raul Castro, the 94-year-old brother of the revolutionary leader Fidel Castro, over the shooting down of 2 civilian planes 30 years ago.
Thank you, Chris. Now, the Chelsea Flower Show is almost upon us, but this year, the usually genteel event has sparked a dispute over the delphiniums before the doors have even opened. One of the exhibiting designers has created his garden with the help of artificial intelligence. Matt Keatley is also behind a new app that can help come up with ideas for your own garden. Not everyone, though, is happy about it, with some alarmed that garden designers will soon be out of a job. Well, I'm delighted to say Matt Keatley is with us, as is Yvonne Price, a garden designer based in Essex who has exhibited at RHS Hampton Court. Welcome to you both. Matt, first of all, just tell us, I guess, what help did AI give you with your Chelsea garden? Can you give us any description of what the garden's like and whether it would have been like that with AI or not?
Yeah, of course I can. Thanks so much for having us on. I saw a big opportunity to try and help people using my knowledge, my 25 years of experience, help people who might not necessarily be able to afford or access a design studio or a designer. And so creating an app that takes people on a quite simple journey through a design process, few basic steps where you map your space, you select your style, you choose your preferences, so you have autonomy over it, and then designs are generated based on a foundation embedded within the app that is my design brain, my design rules, my thinking, my understanding of what hopefully makes a good space, a well-planned and thought-out garden.
So what does it mean for you at your Chelsea garden?
Well, so at Chelsea, we're exhibiting 3 spaces, 3 gardens, 3 different styles that the users will be able to see on the app. So one is called Cotswold Chic, which is it's a representation of a small, likely urban back garden, but with cool muted palettes, lovely soft planting, lounging, dining and cooking area. So kind of outdoor living. Then there's a balcony space, and finally a woodland retreat. So almost Scandinavian inspired, with a sauna, cold shower, which seems to be very, very popular at the moment for health and wellbeing reasons.
Okay, well, let's bring in Yvonne Price. Welcome to you too, Yvonne. Great to have you here. I think you've got concerns. Just lay them out. Why?
I guess I have two main concerns. One is sort of the effect of artificial intelligence on the creative industries as a whole, and how that's going to affect particularly somewhere like Chelsea that has been, like, it is the world centre for garden design. But then also I have issues with the democratising of garden design. And things I've heard where garden designers might cost £10,000. That's certainly not the world I'm inhabiting as a garden designer. And I feel...
So you're saying that Matt is saying that he's democratising garden design?
Yeah, I feel that...
And you're saying it's already democratic, are you?
I'm saying that there are other options. So Chelsea is like the haute couture, it's like the catwalk of garden design. But there are more... maybe I'd put myself as like the good high street designer. There are cheaper options around there, more in people's budgets. When actually, if you're designing your garden, if you're going to redo it, certainly my fee is a very small portion of what you're going to be paying. Most of the money that would go into it, doing up your garden, would actually be like skilled labour for the landscapers, for the materials, and for the plants. And actually, if you were to employ a designer like me, or my wonderful colleagues, then you're actually getting a lot of value for that. But we can work with your space, we can design in ways to save money, whether that's improving the cuts, whether it's the contacts we've got within the industry.
And Yvonne, I suppose one of the things that people, whatever field we discuss AI in, it often comes down to, is it as creative as humans? And I suppose that's my question to you when it comes to gardens. Is there still something about the human garden designer element that AI just, you think, can't manage?
I think that AI, I'm not an IT expert, my understanding of it looks at what's been designed already and then sort of reforms that into new designs. And I think if you're a Matt Keatley fan, which I am, big privilege to be on a call with him.
Nice to hear that, Matt.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And if you want Matt Keatley garden, then that might be a really good idea. But it worries me, particularly at Chelsea, is that Chelsea should be about innovation. It should be, it brought the new perennial movement. It should be bringing more new things to garden design. So both as a garden designer and as someone who goes to Chelsea, I want to see new, I want to see innovation. I don't want to sort of see three gardens that are maybe, rehashing is the wrong word, but like building up on what we've had before. And I feel, we've got lots of young people. We could have more young people coming into horticulture. You've got great ideas, we've got designs, we've got new designers who are much more budget friendly, people who are building up their practices. And
well, let's bring, sorry to interrupt, but let's bring Matt back in before we end the discussion. Matt, high praise for you. But what's your response to Yvonne on those points around innovation? I know you're a hugely successful garden designer. Many people would want you to design their garden. I think you did Prince Harry's at some point. Perhaps I'm wrong. But just answer Yvonne's point.
I actually think what we're doing is the epitome of innovation. We actually, every year at Chelsea, the industry cries for making gardens and gardening and garden design more accessible. And that's exactly what the app is doing. So whilst I totally understand Yvonne's point of view and that side of the fence, so to speak, but there's a huge market, and not necessarily an existing one. The plan is to grow a market, offering the opportunity for people that don't have the chance to seek garden designers, the chance to have effectively a designer.
BBC Sounds starts tomorrow morning at 10.
BBC News at 7 o'clock. Labour's governing National Executive Committee says it will allow Andy Burnham to stand in a parliamentary by-election, paving the way for him to mount a potential leadership challenge against Sir Keir Starmer. The Makerfield MP, Josh Simons, yesterday said he was giving up his seat to make way for the Mayor of Greater Manchester. Andrew Jukes is a telecoms technician in the Makerfield area and says he hasn't been completely enamoured by Sakir.
If you do look at the stuff that is going on behind the scenes, the reduction in waiting lists, the reduction in immigration, I think quietly they have gone about the business. But I just feel as though we should be doing a bit more. The situation's led to this point, and it is what it is. And I do believe that Andy Burnham is a guy who can shout a bit louder and prouder, and his work with Manchester and what he's done with Manchester, I think it will lead him in good stead.
A married couple have been given a 2-month suspended prison sentence at Nottingham Crown Court after admitting taking 2 17-year-old boys to Pakistan to get married. Although only one went through with the ceremony, the pair admitted an offence under forced marriage legislation. A former school teacher in Lancashire has been jailed for 16 years for taking more than 1 million upskirting pictures of students using spy pens. The images were discovered after Matthew Jilks, who's 47, was also caught photographing children under cubicles at a leisure centre in Chorley 2 years ago. A hospital trust in Liverpool has apologised after dozens of staff looked at the medical records of 3 victims injured in the Southport knife attacks, even though they shouldn't have had access. The BBC has learned that the data breach happened at Aintree University Hospital in the days after the attack in July 2024, but it's only now been made public. Football, the Hearts head coach Derek McInnes has said he believes his team can rip up the script and prevail when they face Celtic tomorrow. Hearts need only to draw to become the first club outside the old firm to win the title in 40 years. BBC News.
The comedian, writer and filmmaker Mel Brooks turns 100 in June. Tonight's Screenshot looks at how he turns satire into an art form with classic spoofs like Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein and Spaceballs. What made Brooks's parodies so potent? And do cinematic spoofs still hold any power in an age of irony, reboots and internet memes? Screenshot is in 15 minutes here on Radio 4. Gross costs of net zero could... Archers, George is making great stuff online. So why is no one bothering to watch it?